Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Sarah, and this is Bridge, and we are so excited to be here today to talk about Ayurveda for chronic fatigue and digestive issues. Hi, Bridge. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you? How is everyone?
I am so happy you're here. Okay, couple of housekeeping things first, guys. We are using StreamYard in order to go live. So you need to either give StreamYard permission so that we can see your name in the comments, or when you comment, you just put your name at the end, and this way we can reply to you directly. Um, for those of you who don't know me, I am Sarah. I am a traditional Usui Reiki master teacher, a holistic life coach, and a yoga teacher. I have been practicing for 20 years. I've been teaching for 10, and I am deeply grateful and blessed to lead this amazing community of women. So thank you so much for being here. Please make sure to check out the guides tab to learn more about me, and also tons of other wonderful trainings that we have inside of this group. How about you, Bridget? Can you give us a little bit, tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I am an Ayurveda Health Counselor. I also work as an occupational therapist. I spent, I don't know, maybe 4 years or so in Western medicine, and I just found the pitfalls in Western medicine, and it really frustrated me. So I decided to just move into more Eastern medicine. I traveled around the world and taught at different retreat centers with the yoga as a yoga teacher. And then I also decided to further my education in Ayurveda. Ayurveda kind of fell into my lap. Literally, a book fell into my lap as I was sitting in a store.
What book was that?
It was oh my gosh, it's a classic book in Ayurveda, and it's a smaller one, and it's a really good intro, and I can't even remember. It's a
Dr.
red book.
Lad.
Vasant Lad, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Do you have that book?
Yeah, I have that right on my bookshelf. Of
It's
course.
red, yeah, and the little guy.
It.
Yeah. So
Bible.
that one, yep, that one fell into my lap when I was sitting in a store.
Have you read Eat, Taste, Heal?
No, I
Oh,
have
you gotta
not.
get that one. That one's amazing too.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll write it. I'll write it down.
Yeah, I'll send you the link later.
Yeah.
How about you guys? I'll put the comments on the inside of our group, because the comments go in 3 different places. We're streaming live on the page, on the YouTube group, and on the Facebook group. So inside the Facebook group, after the live, I'm going to go ahead and put Amazon links to these 2 books. If you like what we're talking about today, this is something that you can learn more about on those books. So, because there are certain books that are like biblical for us, like this
For
is
sure.
yes.
For
Anyway,
sure.
so let's just dive right in. Where would you like to start?
Well, I kind of want to so Ayurveda is so vast, right? And I want to tell you guys a little bit about what Ayurveda really is, and then kind of break down the different body types for you so that you can start to heal or start to get ideas at least after today. So I do have a PowerPoint, as boring as that sounds, but it's just the easiest way for everyone to see what I'm talking about, because some of this stuff can be kind of like a foreign language. And so I just want you guys to like visualize what I'm saying. So I'm going to go ahead. Is that cool? Can I share my screen?
Yeah. Did you test it? Make sure it was working before?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Hold on 1 second. Share screen. Share again. Okay.
There it is. Okay, so hold on. I have to add it to the stream, and then we got to do it this way so that people can see us. Okay, we should be good now. Go.
Is that good? Okay. If anyone has any questions or anything off of what I'm saying, just I can't see you because I'm just looking at the PowerPoint. So just let me know if somebody pops up with a question.
Okay.
All right. We're going to go ahead and do this. So how to get rid of chronic fatigue and digestive issues using Ayurveda. So why is Ayurveda the best way to treat this? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's not a one-size-fits-all medicine. And that's really the point that I want to drive home today, is that this isn't some like trendy blog post person, that came up with Ayurveda and thought it was going to be trendy and super marketable. No, absolutely not. This was made in the darshanas. It actually wasn't necessarily from the Vedas per se. It was from the darshanas, and the darshanas are 6 different worldviews. It's over 2,300 years old, but it's actually known to be ageless. So, because it was made in divine knowledge. The whole reason the darshanas were created was because there was this internet of wisdom, right? Called the Vedas. There's this internet of wisdom that helped people to stop suffering. But after years went by, people were continuing to suffer. And so these people were like, holy crap, people are still suffering. Why are they still suffering? So they came up with the darshanas, which are basically like perspectives. And it's 6 perspectives. And this is to help people to stop suffering. So it's like kind of like the how to. And SAMKYHA, which is basically the cosmology of Ayurveda, is one of the 6. And then yoga philosophy is also one of the 6. So those 2 are sister sciences. Ayurveda has the goal of creating a calm, clear body, and yoga has the goal of creating a calm and clear mind.
Oh,
so
man.
Backstory. And now we're going to get into what the heck SAMKYHA is. This is a really dense slide. We're not going to go through all of this because it could just go on and on. Honestly, this is one of my favorite parts about Ayurveda is SAMKYHA, which is basically the basis of Ayurveda. And what SAMKYHA is, some people say SAMKYHA philosophy, but to call it a philosophy is actually false. It's not. It's just the way that it is. It's just the way that things happened. It's a descending of consciousness into matter. That's basically what SAMKYHA is. And it says that everything in reality is in relationship. So you have Purusha and you have Prakriti. And I know, like, I'm sure you know about Purusha and Prakriti, Sarah, like coming from a yoga background. But Purusha is like basically this like latent consciousness, and it's very difficult to put into words, but it's like the potential for consciousness. It's not like a consciousness that's already manifested. It's just the potential of that. So all of what you are, your body, your mind, everything about you is based off of this descending of consciousness, that potential consciousness into matter. So all of these subtle things created the gross, created the body. And that's basically what this is saying. So one thing I want to point out here is that you have, and this is what comes first, second, third, fourth, so on and so forth. What I want to point out is that manas, this is an important thing to point out, is the individual mind. And that actually is created before the body. So the mind precedes the body in order of creation. So it's interesting there. And then also, once we get down here, this is Pancha Mahabhuta, which is the 5 elements. All the way down here is when we finally start to create our tissues out of these elements, because you have the 5 sense organs of reception and the 5 forms of expression here. So
in a nutshell, guys, for those of you who this is all completely new, think of it as Purusha being God unmanifested and Prakriti being Mother Earth and nature. And in order for us to experience consciousness, we have to be, because we are part of nature, when we are in harmony with nature, then we could actually experience consciousness the way that it was meant to be. And pretty much nature is made of 5 elements, and everything that we're going to talk about is going to be about how to balance these 5 elements within your body, because if one of those elements is out of balance, then your physical form is not aligned, it's shaky, it's unstable, and you cannot experience consciousness. And this is the source of all disease, physical, mental, emotional. It all comes from being out of alignment and being out of balance with nature. So the Ayurveda philosophy, it's about what can we do to get our systems to be as aligned as possible with nature, the way that it was supposed to be, as balanced as possible.
Yes, 100%, 100%. And so this basically explains and outlines for you how you became the perfectly imperfect mess that you are. So let's move on here. So this is basically creating your mind and body type, and it's based on a couple things. So mind and body type, you can kind of think of that as a dosha. And what dosha really means is fault line. It's a Sanskrit word that means fault line. So it means basically your tendency to go out of balance. And so you have 3 different doshas here. You have Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And they're basically managed. Think of them as like the managers of 2 elements. We have all of the elements inside of us because we're all made up of nature. We came out of nature. much like an apple comes out of a tree. And so it's kind of, when you go out of balance, it's like you have too much of two of these elements out of balance. So for Vata, that's air and ether. For Pitta, that's fire and water. And for Kapha, that's water and earth. I'm going to break down what all of these mean too as well. Another thing I wanted to point out here is that your Prakriti, which is basically your dominant dosha, which is who you are in this life, is your genetic blueprint. And that is determined at the moment of conception. So all of the stars aligned at the moment your mom and dad came together. And it all is dependent on what your mom was going through, what your dad was going through, what they were thinking at that time, how their digestion was, how their body was, everything, the environment that they were in, the season that they were in. All of these things sort of came together at one single moment to create your Prakriti, your mind and body type. So we have your dosha, and then we have what's called gunas. And gunas are 3 rates of change. And those are present at birth. So think of gunas as like your free will. Your Prakriti, your dosha is your genetic blueprint. And that's like how you just happened to come onto this earth. And then your gunas are like whatever you decide to focus on. You know, we have 3 rates of change. You have rajas, tamas, and sattva. And the guna that's most present at birth, at the time of your birth, depends on 3 things. The karma that your soul brings in, what's dominant in your parents, what type of guna is dominant in your parents at that time, and early childhood environment, like in your pregnancy when you were in the belly or when you're growing up, and your birth. So interesting there. Gunas are things that you can kind of change and work with. Imbalance, if you ever have an imbalance of Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, you can always change and work with that. But your Prakriti, your genetic blueprint, you can't change. Yes. But we can change your Vikriti, which is the current state of these 3 doshas.
So how do we do that? Let's jump into that part.
Let's jump into that. So your chronic fatigue and digestive issues. So this is just sort of describing what kind of goes along with Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So typically when you have what's called Vata toxins or Vata ama, you're going to have a lot of bloating and gas, constipation, small dark bowel movements that are hard to pass, fatigue, fuzzy thinking, any sort of aches and pains, any sort of irregularity at all. Like if you're going to the bathroom some days and then not going other days, or it's just irregular at all, or irregular menses, painful menses, like I said, any type of pain, dry skin, fear, anxiety, overwhelm, that all has to do with too much air and ether. So that is an imbalance of Vata, which can create chronic fatigue and obviously digestive issues. And then we have an imbalance of Pitta, which is pungent, smelly gas, loose burning bowel movements, frequent bowel movements, pungent sweat, burning, indigestion. So any type of, like, notice here, there's a lot of burning, there's a lot of pungency, because there's fire. Pitta is fire and water. So there's like so much heat right there. Hyperacidity, a lot of heat. Rashes, acne, oily skin, because fire tends to spread. So does acne, so does rashes. It has that same quality. Any sort of all these heated emotions, anger, criticism, frustration, irritability, judgment, any sort of intensity. Pittas tend to have a sharp tongue, so they'll their words can cut. They can cut you. So that is what would happen with a Pitta imbalance, which would lead to things like chronic fatigue and digestive issues. So then we have Kapha, and Kapha is water and earth. Water and earth. Here you have a lot of slow, sluggish digestion. I like to kind of compare Kapha imbalances to kind of like a swamp. So there's not a lot moving. There's a lot of static energy there. You have this sluggishness, this slowness. You have heavy bowel movements that sink down to the bottom. They're kind of sticky and like mucusy. Any sort of mucus at all, like a lot of mucus in the lungs or mucus in the stomach causing lack of appetite, can be from Kapha, too much Kapha. Heaviness, nausea, burping, tired after eating. If anybody's like taking a nap right after eating or having a lot of like burping or nausea, that's classic Kapha. low appetite, like I said, feeling heavy, lethargic, fatigue. Again, it's just a lot of heaviness. There's a lot of weight to them. These heavy emotions, sadness, depression, stubborn, attached. But kaphas tend to have an attachment problem. They like to like hold on to something and then not let go. And they tend to hold on to like heavier emotions like guilt. Guilt is a super heavy emotion.
Someone says here, I have at least one in each section. Well, that's because oftentimes we have a tendency to either be Vata Pitta or Pitta Kapha. I'm actually Vata Kapha, which means it's rare, but it exists. And there's also something called a tridosha. And so there is people who have a little bit of each. And this is a really ego level high view, specifically focused on chronic and fatigue and digestive issues. If you go deeper into the studies, you will see that we basically have, each of us has 5 bodies, and I'm going a little off track here, but we have the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, the energy body, the spiritual body. And each one of them can have a little bit of a different imbalance. So you might have a Vata mind and a Pitta imbalance in your physical body. So they could, listen, you can call Bridget, and Bridget's going to put her information, her contact information at the end here on the comments, because I want you to take this as a big level of awareness of how it all works. I don't want you to start diagnosing yourself, because there's so many little things that go into this. Like, I used to have what I thought was a kapha imbalance for a long time. And I went to an Ayurvedic practitioner, and she says to me, okay, no, what you have is not a kapha imbalance. What you have is a pitta imbalance. And your body's going into over kapha mode in order to compensate for the pitta imbalance. So here I am with a kapha problem, treating it as a kapha problem, adding fire. And because I had misdiagnosed the root cause, I was adding fire to the fire, which when that's aggravating, because then my body kept creating more kapha to try and calm the whole thing down. So this is very intricate.
Yes, it is. It is very intricate. Yeah. And there's, like I said before, with SAMKYHA philosophy, or SAMKYHA in general, is that there's so many different elements that go into making you. And then there's so many, the Ayurveda says that the entire world, the physical universe, is observable, and it's in constant motion. It's in constant change. You're in a constant state of change. So all of these things are just sort of like interplaying and changing with the seasons.
So these are the seasons of the year, the seasons of your life. They will vary depending on the part of the globe that you are in, because the weather that you are living in affects you. It has either Ragistic or Sattvic or Tamasic quality. Like, this is affected by so many things. It's absolutely fascinating. All right, keep going.
Yes. Yeah, no, there's so many. And it's amazing when I sit down and do, assessments with people, because you're Vata Kapha, but all Vata Kaphas are not made up equally. So there's so many different intricacies of each one. So there's like all of these beautiful, like I said, perfectly imperfect messes of who we are and what imbalances that we carry around with us. So yeah. What do you do? What do you do if you feel like one of those is you? This is, again, just like super general advice. So for Vata, usually you're going to always, in Ayurveda, you want to bring in opposite qualities. And Vatas have the qualities of light, dry, and mobile. They're very they're kind of like little butterflies. They're very light, and they're in the air, and they're in the ethers, and they're
You're Vata, I'm sure.
I'm super Vata.
You're Vata as they come.
I'm Vata as heck. So I'm kind of a Vata. Sometimes I go out in Pitta, but yeah, no, I'm very Vata. That is my genetic blueprint, is very Vata. But so basically what they need is a lot of grounding. So they need heavy, moist, and stable meals, diet and lifestyle, heavy, moist, and stable. Warm cooked meals at consistent meal times. They need that consistency. They need regularity, because they're so irregular. They're so all over the place. They're just going with the flow all the time. They need like some sort of boundaries in order to transcend them. So they need cooked root vegetables. They need more meats and cheeses, broths, oils, ghees, fats, sauces, whole grains. Like,
all right, wait, time out. I've never seen an Ayurvedic practitioner say meats.
Yes. Well, welcome. Yeah, actually Vata, they do benefit from meat because it has that density to it. It's always the quality. It's not so much what you eat, it's how you eat and how your meals are. So it's the qualities of that. The meat has that dense and also moistness to it that is good for Vatas. Not one size fits all. There's no dogma of no meat or veganism or vegetarianism, but yeah, they do benefit for some meat. Lifestyle wise, warm oil massage, daily routines, complete breath, and belly breathing are good things to have because again, it brings in those like heavy, moist, sort of unctuous daily routines and like calming, grounding qualities. So for Pitta, we need foods that are cooling and soothing because they're fire. They have so much fire. They are like a burnt wasteland in California. They're like burned. So we need to really cool them down and really soothe them. So aloe is great, cilantro, cumin, coriander, fennel. Those three, cumin, coriander, fennel, is a great spice mixture to add to all your food. Cucumber, seasonal, juicy fruits. Ghee again, because ghee has that cooling quality to it. Whole grains and proteins because Pittas tend to be hungry. They tend to have a ferocious appetite. And so they need like a lot of protein. Also, a thing that's on here is a lot of heavy greens, steamed greens, bitter greens, and coconut as well. So one thing that Pitta needs to stop doing is eating spicy foods. For the love of God, stop eating spicy foods. Stop eating spicy foods. And no fried foods here either, because when you fry something, you have the hot and oily quality to it, which is just something that Pitta, like increases light. They're already hot and they're already oily. So fried foods just increases more of that quality. You want to eat your biggest meal at lunchtime because that's when you're going to be the hungriest. Yin yoga, because it forces you to just be still and just relax for a minute. Pitta. And then nostril breathing is a really good one as well, or square breath is usually what I recommend.
What do you call square breath?
What do I call it?
What describes square breath?
Square breath is when you inhale, it's like a square. So you inhale for 4 seconds, hold that inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and then hold at the bottom of the exhale for 4 seconds.
Equal ratio breath retention. I've never called square breath. And I'm like, what are you calling the square breath? That was my question.
Yeah.
Equal ratio breath retention. Okay, keep going. Kapha.
Kapha. So since they feel so heavy, they need light things. They need light, warm, and dry because they're like that swamp quality. So they tend to be cold and wet. So we need warm and dry. So they benefit from smaller and lighter grains like quinoa, amaranth, millet, corn. These are all grains that are like small. They're light, they're small, and they're a little bit drying as well. Low fat, they don't benefit from a lot of fat because they don't really need it. And more veggies and beans.
So, they're astringent, and that's really good for kapha.
Yes. Astringent because they kind of suck up all the moisture. They're like the swamp, right? So we need to suck up all the moisture. They benefit from primarily a plant-based diet that is well spiced. So because they're so heavy and sad and slow and sluggish, their fire isn't really there. You need to bring that fire back to them so that they can digest a little bit better and not have that slow, sluggish digestion. With kapha lifestyle, you want to get up before 7 a.m. because they tend to sleep long into the day. You want to exercise and sweat, like sweat in general, go into a sauna or just whatever you do.
Hot yoga very well.
Yes, they would benefit from hot yoga.
Pizza people shouldn't go into hot yoga.
Oh no. That is a fireball waiting to happen. Breath of fire is a great breath work for them as well because it just stokes the fire that they need so that they can stop feeling so sluggish and break up a lot of mucus too, because they tend to have a lot of mucus and hold on to a lot of things in their lungs. So that is generally what to do. The takeaway here is that nothing at all nothing and no one will benefit from a one size fits all anything. There is no black and white thinking here. There's this whole gray area. And that's what I love about like sattvic things. Sattvic, there's no like, you should eat this, you shouldn't eat that. There's no like specific breakdown of anything, really. There's this whole gray area. And that to me is what sattva is. That's where like spontaneous remission happens. That's where, you know, miracles start to happen. That's where your intuition is. And that's where you can be calm, but also focused. And so stop thinking in this black and white sort of matter. The digestive system is a master system of the body. So once you fix that, the things like chronic fatigue tend to just fall into place. And it's no wonder here that digestive systems, your digestive dismay and chronic fatigue tend to go together. So that's why, because it's not working properly. But the goal here is to create a sattvic mind and body. So a calm and clear mind and body. And then I just have this little quote. This is one of my favorite quotes in one of my Ayurveda books. It says, the jiva, which is the soul, is devoid of all pathology. He is the cause of consciousness through the mind and senses. He is eternal and the observer of all activities. So once you hit at the jiva, at the soul, at the true self, then you're devoid of all pathology. So if you would like to sign up for a free consult with me to figure out what's really going on with you and get down to the nitty gritty of like what your specific imbalance is, then you can send me, there's some options here. You can send me a direct message on Facebook. And then that's how to reach my Facebook, Bridge Ochoa. I'm on Instagram at Bridge Ayurveda, or my website or my email, bridge@bridgetochoa.com.
What's your website?
bridgetochoa.com.
Oh.
I didn't put that one in there, but
okay,
you kind of get it from my website.
All right, cool. I'm going to remove this so that we can go back to this view. So this is really, really cool. So for those of you who are new to this, I would really encourage you to look up the books that we talked at the beginning, but the books will honestly get you more confused than they will clarify, because there's also a subjectivity to this science. And what I mean by that is, you know, for example, Bridge is very Vata. I'm Vata too, but compared to me, Bridge is much more Vata. So she is going to perceive me as more Kapha because she's where she's at. So it takes like your perception, even your perception is affected by your dosha. So what you think is normal, you think that's balance, and that's not necessarily balance. And so you'll be reading the book and you'll qualify yourself into a certain category because that's your perception of reality. And you need someone outside of yourself who's actually balanced, okay, to be able to see things from a different perspective and give you that clarity. That's the biggest misconception that I think people have about Ayurveda, that it's something that you could just, you know, there's so many quizzes online that you could take. And, you know, algorithms nowadays have gotten pretty good, but I wouldn't even say that, because I found a website recently. I don't know if you know it, Bridge. You'll probably love it. It's The Apothecary with a K. And it's, I could tell just from the questions that they were asking that their stuff was based on Ayurvedic philosophy, just by the questionnaire that they were asking. And then they gave me the result and they got it wrong. And I'm like, I must have answered, I know better. So I recognized the questions and I answered the questions to the best of my ability. And then when they gave me the result, I'm like, okay, no, this is a computer. They got it wrong. And I know enough to be able to override that, right? And to realize that the computer made a mistake. You guys don't. So you need a human, not a computer, not a book, to actually do this diagnosis for you. And an Ayurvedic practitioner will look at your tongue, they'll look at your eyes, they will take your pulse and see. There's so many little things that they look for. I'm not an Ayurvedic practitioner. This is why Bridge is here. I know enough to get myself in trouble. I don't know enough. So, and I've studied it for years and I've read plenty of books on it and I've taken courses on it. And all I know is that it's a lot deeper than I was willing to go. well, because I was, trained by a teacher who was focused on different things. It wasn't from the physical level to the spiritual. I work from the spiritual level to the physical. But everybody can benefit from taking action at the physical level, at whatever level they can. And so this is a really good start, because the truth of the matter is, if your physical system is out of balance, it's going to make it very difficult for you to do your spiritual work.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
So reach out to Bridge. I highly encourage you to do that. Schedule that 15-20-minute free consult and just see where the journey takes us. You'll be surprised. Anything else you want to add?
I think that about covers it. Do you guys have any questions or anything?
I have a lot of great info. Me too. Fascinating, very informative. No questions.
Awesome. Well, yeah,
All right.
I hope you guys
I'm going to go ahead and put here the link to my group, because all of the stuff that we've promised we are going to put in here is going to be inside of my group. So if you're watching on the Facebook page or on the YouTube channel, you want to join my group and go look for the post and the recording, hit replay, and you will see the links to the books that we promised. I want you, Bridge, to go in that group and put in your contact information in there so that people have it handy as well, how to contact you for that free consult. And I'll also put the link to this website. I'm not sponsored by any of this. I just literally want to share because I find it so super useful. So I got some herbs from this apothecary place and I like them. So I think that they're onto something. Their algorithm might not be perfect, but it won't hurt you. A little cumin and a little, it won't hurt you. Like you can play around to a certain degree. It's just if you have any chronic illnesses, pains, and you have a very delicate system, you want to make sure that you're talking to a true professional like Bridge. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, guys.
Bridge, you can stay with me for a sec. Hold on.